Did you know that Darth Maul had an earring during the Phantom Menace, or that Quinlan Vos appears on Tatooine, or even that Obi-Wan was originally a name that was going to be passed down from master to apprentice? Well, today I'm analyzing the top 20 craziest Episode 1 facts, and in honor of this being the first CGI-heavy Star Wars film, I'll also be looking at how many visual effects shots are in each Star Wars movie. At 20 is Darth Maul earring. So actor Ray Park, who portrayed Darth Maul in the first prequel film, wore an earring while in the makeup chair, and as a result, George Lucas saw this and decided that they should keep it, which is why Darth Maul has an earring in this movie and every subsequent piece of Star Wars media to follow, including the Clone Wars and Rebels.
You may have forgotten me, but I will never forget you.
19. Palpatine Smiles. When Queen Amidala tells newly elected Chancellor Palpatine that she will be returning to Naboo, while Palpatine puts on a facade of disappointment and shock, you can start to see a half smile form on his face, suggesting that he is happy that his plan is going as he has foreseen. And there are actually many ways of looking at how he could have planned this out, but this definitely makes sense right here. And at 18 is Qui-Gon Represents. Qui-Gon Jinn represents the old order of Jedi in this movie, as he has an optimistic, faithful view on the will of the Force, contrasted with the ignorant view of many of the other Jedi, and the cynical mindset found throughout much of the original trilogy Jedi. Next up at 17, the song you hear during the Flag Parade is actually a higher-pitched altered version of the Emperor's theme from Return of the Jedi. Try giving it a listen. At 16 is Obi-Wan name. At one point, Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to be the name of the older Jedi, while Qui-Gon was to be the younger Jedi in Episode 1. However, at the end of the movie, after the older Jedi Obi-Wan died, he was to pass on the name of Obi-Wan to his Padawan, that being the Obi-Wan we see on Tatooine 32 years later. And at 15 is Darth Plagueis. So Darth Plagueis, the master of Sidious, who is talked about in Revenge of the Sith, is actually still alive during the invasion of Naboo and death of Qui-Gon Jinn, and was killed shortly after by his apprentice. This makes him and Palpatine the two Sith Lords, and Darth Maul nothing more than a Sith assassin. 14. Famous actors. Real quick, can you identify the two famous actors in this image? Well, it's actually Keira Knightley and Richard Armitage, who played Elizabeth Swann and Thorin Oakenshield in the Pirates of the Caribbean and Hobbit film trilogies, respectively. And the reason the voice of Queen Amidala always sounded so weird is because voice modulation was done to Natalie Portman's voice to make it identical to that of Keira Knightley's. At 13 is Quinlan Vos. Jedi Master Quinlan Vos from the Expanded Universe and Clone Wars show actually appeared in the Phantom Menace on Tatooine in the background. When making the movie, he was simply there as one of the many background Tatooine aliens, because yes, as it turns out, Quinlan Vos is actually of the Kifar species, not a human, because apparently face tattoos are enough to make you a different species in Star Wars. However, this original background character was retconned to be Quinlan Vos on an undercover mission to Mos Espa. 12. Gunray Reagan. Newt Gunray was meant to have similarities to United States President Ronald Reagan, and actually if you look at his last name, it is Reagan backwards. You know, Gunray, Ray Gun. At 11 is Q-tips. So for the effect of the massive Boonta Eve pod race crowd,
and do you know what else is massive?
They were actually made up of Q-tips with a fan blowing underneath that gave off the illusion of movement in the crowd. And Ben Burr, sound designer of the Star Wars movies, recorded a crowd at a 49ers football game for the sounds of the different aliens and people here. Now let's real quick look at how many visual effects shots are in all 9 Star Wars movies. While Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith have a reported 2,200 visual effects shots, The Phantom Menace only had 1,950 or so in total. A New Hope has around 400, Empire Strikes Back has around 600, Return of the Jedi around 900, whereas with the sequels, The Force Awakens has 2,100 shots in total, The Last Jedi has around 2,000 visual effects shots, and The Rise of Skywalker has around 1,900, closer to The Phantom Menace. At 10 is Natalie Portman's school. Natalie Portman was only 16 during the filming of The Phantom Menace and 18 when it came out. When the film premiere party was going on, she actually couldn't be there because she had to go home and study for her high school finals. However, don't worry, she was able to attend the premieres of the next 2 Star Wars prequels, and for the Revenge of the Sith premiere, she actually had a buzz cut, which is not something I was expecting to see today. Padme with a buzz cut.
You're so beautiful.
Surprise,
Number 9. Trailer. This refers to the fact that people would buy tickets to see movies in 1999 just to watch the Phantom Menace trailer and then walk out. I mean, why didn't they just pull it up on YouTube? Oh yeah, right. At 8 is Michael Jackson Jar Jar. It is rumored that Michael Jackson was interested in playing Jar Jar Binks and actually approached George Lucas about it, but he was also hoping to play Jar Jar in prosthetic makeup, while George was more interested in a completely CGI character. At 7 is Darth Maul was a woman. For the original designs of Darth Maul, George Lucas asked concept and storyboard artist Ian McKeag to design a Sith from his worst nightmare, so he cooked up this monstrosity. And then George asked him to draw his second worst nightmare, which is why we ended up getting the final horned version of Maul we see today. There were other designs considered as well, some of which later would turn into Mother Talzin and other Star Wars characters. At 6 is, funny enough, the 6-hour cut. Actor Jake Lloyd reported in an interview with That Shelf that a 6-hour cut of The Phantom Menace existed and that it was mind-blowingly awesome. This likely included an hour-long version of the pod race, among other extended sections of the movie that hadn't been cut down yet. But real quick, here's the Christian advice of this video. If you want to get back to the main video, you can skip to this time right here. Today we are again looking at the Apocrypha with Bel and the Dragon, which is an addition to Daniel in the Old Testament, and this is actually Bel and the Dragon 38, which says, Bel said, "You have remembered me, O God, and have not forsaken those who love you." This is of course when Daniel is put into the lion's den, and God makes sure that the lions don't attack him and that he gets food to survive. And I feel like the most important lesson here, or just from this specific, these words here, is that says that God has not forsaken those who love you. I think that is a very important thing that some people miss, is that obviously you have to be faithful to God and work for God. We also have to love God. Love is a very powerful, important thing, and that's kind of a big takeaway from here as far as I'm concerned. Now here are a few announcements. For one, I just want to say make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, because that does give me some good engagement and pushes this out to more people that might also enjoy this type of content. Album of the week is going to The Forever Story by Jid. I upload normal videos every Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, also shorts every single day. But yeah, back to the video. At 5, always a bigger fish. This line is related to the Sith mentality explored in this very movie, with the rule of 2, where behind every threat there is always a larger one working in the shadows. At 4 is the beginning. While the name we know now for Star Wars Episode 1 is of course The Phantom Menace, when George Lucas first started writing the film in 1994, the title The Beginning was considered at first, as this was not only the first episode of this massive saga, but also a prelude of sorts to what the rest of the movies are about. At 3 is Ben Quadinaros. The Phantom Menace is the only Star Wars movie to feature the most important and well-written character in the Star Wars saga, that being Ben Quadinaros.
I was about to say that.
At 2, originally just Obi-Wan. When the movie was first being worked on, the central character at one point was to simply be Obi-Wan and have us follow his adventures in rescuing the Queen from Naboo and saving Anakin. However, this was changed to continue the passing of the torch theme that had been in the movies since 1977. Do you think that the prequels would have worked better if this movie focused more on Obi-Wan and Anakin than Qui-Gon and Anakin? I think it works very well either way. Number 1. Shakespearean Tragedy. The prequels, including The Phantom Menace, were actually intended to represent a Shakespeare-like tragedy, with Anakin representing the tragic hero, Obi-Wan representing the righteous rival, and Palpatine representing the true corrupter of evil. And if you enjoyed this type of video, I actually did one on the 20 craziest facts from the Clone Wars, which you can watch if you click this video right here. But yeah, see ya.